NFL Power Rankings. It's the Tuesday table for us right now. I'm Colleen Wolfe. MJD is with us, as always. And the mastermind behind the rankings, Elliot Harrison. I feel like your house is like a beautiful mind setup with all of the rankings.
It's something like that. It's slightly more nerdy, actually.
Wow.
But I got to tell you, we got a new number one today, guys, a new number two, and we're going to take a deep dive into the Chiefs roller coaster season. MJD, you're going to make sense of it, right?
I'm gonna try to.
I feel like it's just kind of been falling. Like this roller coaster just keeps going down.
That's right.
Let's go with the top 10 here, and we have a new number one, the Patriots, Elliot.
Yeah, I think they've earned this, and I know this wasn't Tom Brady's best game at Buffalo. We all saw the sideline blow up with Josh McDaniels, but what people are missing is who the top defensive coordinator this year has been, and that's Matt Patricia. The defense keeps balling out. It doesn't matter who they're playing, Colleen, and that's why I moved them up to number one, of course, coupled with a significant team's loss up in Seattle.
Right.
Well, listen, anytime the Patriots can win by running the ball, Tom Brady having a bad day, you're talking about a complete team in that situation. We were concerned to see what was going to happen if Tom wasn't going to be able to throw the ball over the yard. Well, we saw Rex Burkhead stepped up, Deion Lewis stepped up, and the defense stepped up.
It's about time the Patriots finally get recognized for being a good team.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Go on. They're number one. They're still number one.
They are going to be without Gronk.
That's true. Number two, the Eagles after that loss to the Seahawks.
Yeah, and look, I know that they lost, but this was a 24-10 game where two plays could have easily made it 24-24. A rare miss by Carson Wentz down the field twice, and then that fumble at the 1-yard line. Look, I'm not making excuses for them. They lost the game, but I'm not going to put them in free fall mode after losing up in Seattle where a lot of good teams go to lose.
It's a tough place to play. The Seahawks play really well there, but only falling one spot. How do you feel about it, MJD?
Good, right? Nice ranking.
I mean, this is my issue. They were handed, they weren't in that game at all. The Seahawks came out. You're talking about a Russell Wilson without a running game. They found the running game against Philly. Okay, Russell Wilson's running all over the yard. The defense shut him down. They just didn't play well this game. It wasn't one of those games where it was 14-17 or 21-24. This was a blowout the whole way. And when I say blowout, I don't mean blowout. Let me say the Seahawks handily won this game. It wasn't close to me.
I think the Seahawks were in control, but I wouldn't call this a blowout at all. Again, a couple of missed plays by Carson Wentz down the field. That was the big one right there. That was a touchdown.
But you got to make that play. So if he didn't make it, so what happens?
I agree, but it's not like they looked completely hapless. They were still in the game in the fourth quarter. I did think the Eagles failed to make some adjustments defensively when Russell Wilson was running all over the yard. Spy him.
A lot of penalties in this one, too, for the Eagles, but Carson Wentz did not look good off the start. He had 45 passing yards in that first half. He looked a little rattled, to be honest.
You're talking about against a secondary that's been ravaged by injuries, too, from the Seahawks, who's been taking advantage of in other games. He can't do it in Seattle. I just feel like they should be down like in the 5 range, 4 to 5 range.
They have won 9 in a row before this.
So we'll get a market correction here after this one.
Is that right? You
That's
love
your
those
favorite
market
phrase.
corrections. Okay, so those are the top 2 teams this week. Here is the rest of your top 10. And you got 5 teams standing pat right now.
I'd like to circle the Jags, though. I think a lot of people are sleeping on them. They're best defense in the league in points allowed. And they got a big game against Seattle this week. Give them some respect.
Okay, let's look at that number 4 team. The Steelers, who they came back 17-point deficit and beat the Bengals last night.
Look, I'm keeping them in the cleanup spot. 4 is pretty high because they keep winning. But they also, they turn it on and then it's off. They turn it on and then it's off. They looked terrible. You want to talk about a team that looked terrible in the first half. They looked worse than the Eagles did in Seattle, in my opinion, MJD, but they did come back and win.
Well, one of the issues there, obviously, you lose your defensive captain, Ryan Shazier, the way that happened, and prayers up to him and everything, and we hope he has a full recovery. That affects your team a little bit, but I love the way they bounced back from that situation, and they were able to kind of regroup. And again, they have another tough game against the Baltimore Ravens. I think, again, the game for them, though, will be in 2 weeks against the New England Patriots, where we decide who is going to be the best team in the AFC.
So we already talked a little bit about the Seahawks already after they beat the Eagles, but looking at the Seahawks and the Panthers, who is better built right now for a Super Bowl run, MJD?
To go on a run, you have to have your starters in the lineup, right? So I'm going to have to say the Carolina Panthers. They're not as banged up. You lost Curtis Samuel, that's one guy, but they're getting pretty healthy. Greg Olsen should be coming back soon. The Seahawks are, they're playing with 3rd and 4th string corners. They brought Byron Maxwell back off of free agency. They're just beat up defensively and on the offensive line. They can't run the ball. I'll say the Panthers because Cam Newton's going to take this game over, and I think he's playing better, and hopefully they can do some things other than what they did in New Orleans.
Do you agree?
I don't. I think it's the Seahawks. First of all, that secondary did pretty well against the Eagles receivers the other night. Granted, it's not the same as the Legion of Boom, but more importantly to me is that Seattle has a chance to get a home game in the playoffs. We're talking about making a run in the playoffs. You want to be at home. I don't see Carolina getting a home game. I think Saints are going to win that division. They may even win out, whereas Seattle already beat the Rams. They've got the Rams in a couple of weeks, right, at their home place. Seattle could end up being at home. They're tough to beat there.
I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
And the reason I'm going to say this is in order to beat the Seahawks, you have to beat them at home. The Rams handled the Seahawks the whole game. They should have won that game, actually. A drop pass. You said it yourself.
I agree.
I think that they go up in Seattle and they win.
It's interesting. These two teams, they're so similar, too, because they both have quarterbacks that are running around. They have offensive lines that have some issues and some holes. So we'll see how these two teams do over the next few weeks. 11 through 20. Here's your list, Elliot.
Yeah, in a couple teams there, Lions and Bills, you just hope their quarterbacks are healthy enough to play. Matt Stafford, he drives the Lions team. And then Tyrod is ailing as well. Those teams are still in the playoff race, kind of.
Yeah, they're hanging on. They're hanging on. What about the Raiders at 15 right now?
Well, you would say that they were hanging on until you look up at the division. You're like, wait a minute. The Chiefs are 6-6. The Chargers are 6-6. The Raiders are right there. Of course, the Raiders did lose to the Chargers earlier this year, but they did beat the Chiefs. I liked what I saw from the defense. I know they were playing Geno Smith.
Giants, yes.
I know, but they still made some improvements.
Well, for me, the Raiders have their own destiny in their hands, right? So you're talking about if you win, you're in the playoffs. If you win, you're going to get in. So they have to keep going. But I like them. Their schedule is set up for them to do that. You're going to play the Cowboys, and some other teams are going to play your division, but I think they'll be fine. I'm not worried about it.
This was, I guess, a good game, you could say, to not have two of their top wide receivers.
Exactly.
They leaned on Marshawn Lynch, and it worked out for them. Okay, 21 through 30. We're not showing 31 or 32
I know. Well,
sorry.
I almost put the Broncos at 31 if the Giants hadn't had such a messy week because Denver looks terrible right now. And the Bears, enough speculating about John Fox's job. Okay, enough already.
Really?
Yes, I get it. Okay. I get it. They were competitive.
You guys know what time it is? Too high, too low. All right, I have a trio of NFC teams here. And MJD, too high or too low? Ready? Falcons at 11.
Too high. And reason being, you can't lose at home. You have to take care of home, especially in the NFC.
I thought you said the Vikings were the second best team in the league.
They are, but you still have to take care of home. In this situation, the Vikings really took over this game at the end, towards the end of the fourth quarter. They ran the ball down their throats. They stuffed their running game. Matt Ryan looked erratic. He just wasn't good.
Took over Julio.
I got him at 11, which is a fringe wild card team, which is, I think, what the Falcons are. The fact that they lost to the Vikings, who are fighting for home field, I think is just right.
I thought the Falcons' offense was back. Steve Sarkisian, I don't know about that anymore. How about the Cowboys at 14 after that win over the Redskins? Too high, too low?
This is too high, and I'm appalled.
What?
I'm
You're appalled
by Elliot. All the time he talks about the Cowboys and all this and that, and then you beat up on a team that's banged up and you jump them up 5 spots. Are you kidding me?
Well, I guess I've rose in the rankings because he was disgusted with me earlier in the year.
Paul
is a little bit better.
Elliot. This is great.
Right. Hey, you know what? The Cowboys are getting Sean Lee back. That's like getting Bobby Wagner or Joey Bosa back. He's indispensable to them. The Cowboys' offense scored in this game, bud.
We're going to see.
They look good. That offensive line actually looked good again that second half. How about this one? The Packers at 17, MJ.
Listen, again, they're too high. I love Brett Hundley. I love what the Packers are doing. They're going to get Aaron Rodgers back in a couple weeks. But you beat up on a Bucs team that's they're done. They're banged up. They're trying to figure out what they're trying to do.
I agree with you there on the Bucs, not the Packers. The Bucs defense looks bad. No ball security either right here. But, hey, give them credit for making plays when they needed to. I'm talking about the Packers defense picking up for Brett Hundley a little bit.
Yeah, they needed to, actually, in that one. Let's talk about the biggest movers of the week and power up, power down. MJD, the Jets, they're up 7 spots to 19.
You know what? Todd Bowles is doing a great job with his team. They're finding ways to win. He's getting guys to play. And their defense, their defensive line shutting down the run, forcing teams to be one-dimensional. You just need help on the back end a little bit.
That's right. They got blown out on our air last year, and everyone said, the team gave up on him. Well, the team didn't give up on him. So, and you know what? Another team that's not giving up on their coach is the Redskins. I know they got blown out against Dallas, but they've been in every game this year up until then. They've had so many injuries, and they played the toughest schedule. I think the Redskins are still going to stay viable. They said they're not resting anybody either.
No, they fell 5 spots after that loss. But you know what? I want to ask you this, Elliot. Yeah. Why are you tripping right now? Oh, you're power tripping. That's right. Power tripping with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well played. Well played. Unlike the Chiefs so far this year. So you look right here. I started them at 9. I thought they were a wild card team. They beat the Patriots, shocked everybody. Then they beat the Eagles and went all the way to number 1. Then you see real steady 5-0 start, looking good. Everything's great. Then the dip started. This loss in Dallas was a big one. They could not stop Ezekiel Elliott. Then the real surprising loss was to the Bills. That's when they were at 18. That's when Buffalo started Tyrod Taylor. And then the slide just continues all the way down to 21. They did everything they could to lose the Jets. That's 6 out of 7 games. So with the remaining schedule, they got 4 to do it. Can they get back into this playoff race?
That power trip reminds me of the time where I went to Lake Tahoe and I had to climb all the way up the side of a mountain just to slide down and have a little fun. And since they're having so much fun losing, they got to play the Oakland Raiders at home. And this is going to be a tough one. The Raiders already beat them. They're getting their 2 receivers back. Marshawn Lynch is running harder. And we've seen the Chiefs defense kind of give up a lot. And they're really playing undisciplined on the back end. So guess what? They're going to take an L in this situation. They're going to be 6 and 7.
Still in it. Still in it.
And now you're going to the Chargers, who are hot.
It is playing well.
It is a home game, but it doesn't matter. This team is finding a way to lose right now. And I'm going to give them an L in this situation as well. Philip Rivers comes in. Now, you get Miami. They're struggling a little bit.
At home.
Well, they've lost 6 in a row at this point. So that you never know what may happen. But I'm going to give them that W against the Dolphins. They have a lot of stuff going on right there. Jay Cutler does turn the ball.
Chiefs-Dolphins.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then to finish it off right, I'm going to give them a W against the Broncos in Denver just because the Broncos don't have a quarterback. So that slide's going to happen in a couple more weeks. And they're going to go 8-8, and they're not going to make the playoffs.
All right, so 8-8 is not, so it's going to be 9-7. Are you saying the Chargers or the Raiders win the AFC West?
I'm going to say the Raiders. And come here. This is going to be true. The Raiders are going to win the AFC West in L.A. against the Chargers in Carson. How about that?
All right, I'm down with that.
Balance of power. Don't mess this up, okay, MJD?
I got you, Colleen.
All right.
I got you, Colleen. You're going to like this. It's going to be the best one yet.
All right.
All right, we're talking about 2 really good teams right now.
Yep.
Number 2 and number 5. 2 teams that are playing well. When you talk about rush offense, Todd Gurley is lighting it up right now, doing a great job. But the Eagles are rushing the ball over 140 yards per game. That four-headed monster is doing their thing. Elliot, you know what to do.
Yeah. And don't forget Carson Wentz running, going with the Eagles here, okay?
That's right. Passing offense now, it's a little bit different. The Eagles do a great job. They're throwing the ball around the yard. But I'm going to give this to the Rams, and the reason being, the Rams are throwing the ball crazy, and Jared Goff is on fire right now. They have some great weapons. They're doing some really good things. Sammy Watkins is coming on strong. And let's not forget, Robert Woods isn't even playing. Their number 1 wide receiver. So those things right there, I think, are going to be the issue for this Seahawks, or not Seahawks, but this Eagles defensive back.
It's an interesting contrast. Rams' number 1 scoring team, Carson Wentz, MVP candidate, but you're going with the Rams?
I'm going to go with the Rams here in this situation. Now, defense, rush defense, we're going to give that to the Eagles. Touch that for me, Elliot, please.
Going with the Eagles' rush defense.
Pass defense, we're going to give this to the Rams.
I agree with that.
Please. And then coaching, Colleen, I need you to come over here and help me out here.
You can't do that if you don't have a ring.
Listen, I can't do the ring thing. But what's the baby of a goat? What's it called?
A kid.
Then we're going to give it to him because he's a baby goat. Give it to the Rams because the kid is going to do everything that he wanted to. And that's why the Rams are better than the Eagles.
Who could pull off an upset this week and wreck your rankings next week?
I think the Cardinals at home against the Titans. Titans have been goofing off with some teams that weren't as strong as them, and I think the Cardinals can take this game with Blaine Gabbert under center, MJD.
Yeah, I believe so as well. It's tough to travel west. And Arizona's a tough place to play. It's really loud in there. Just left there with the Rams. It's loud, and those fans stay the whole time.
We'll see if they wreck your rankings, but we're almost out of time here. 30 seconds on the clock for all the teams we didn't get to. Go.
All right, Eli Manning handled that with such class. Glad that you're back in the saddle. Speaking of being in the saddle, San Francisco 49ers, great to have Hope under center and Jimmy Garoppolo. Hey, a former 49er, Frank Gore, congratulations, man. That guy may be on the way to the Hall of Fame. All right, Baltimore Ravens. Look, they're inconvenient, just like Frank Gore, right? The inconvenient truth, but they could be money in the playoffs. And then lastly, Pittsburgh Steelers, Ryan Shazier, I sincerely hope you are doing well and your family. And we're all thinking about Ryan Shazier today after watching that football.
That made me sick watching it. That gave me just the pit of my stomach. Watching that was so scary. You saw Vince Williams crying. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Good show, guys. Thanks for joining us.